Casual Magic has been sponsored by Quiver, maker of the Quiver and Bolt deck cases and other fine deck holding accessories. Use the code CASUAL on their website for 10% off your order. We're also sponsored by Architect, the premier site for hosting your decks on the internet. I love them and they love me, and it seems like a good reason for you to use them. You can also support Casual Magic directly by going to our Patreon at patreon.com/ShivamB. And now, on with the show. Hello and welcome to Casual Magic, the show where we talk about the fun side of Magic the Gathering. My name is Shivam, Bhatt, and Casual Magic is brought to you by Architect, Quiver, and my patron, patreon.com/ShivamB. Today, I am very proud, very glad to be, this is weird. I'm very surprised that it's taken me this many episodes to bring on somebody who I talk to so regularly, so often, that I can't believe, like a fellow podcaster on top of that I can't believe that we just have never bothered to. Well, I've been on your show a couple times.
I think so, a while back. Yeah.
But yeah, so Jay Annelli, who is one of my kin Vorthos, one of probably the corest core Vorthos there is these days, because you are the Loremaster of Magic, the way that I am the canon priest of Dragonlance, which is basically as high a level as fan tier can get, which is one of the greatest compliments for nerdity, is like being crowned the king of your fandom.
When the creators are just like, I don't even want to keep track of all this here.
Yeah. When they're like, hey, dude, what color is this dude's eyes? And you're like, well, on this page you said they were blue, and on that page you said they were brown. And you're like, well, what are they? And I'm like, well, we decided collectively that it should be brown. Okay, fine, they'll be brown. This is a real discussion I've had with Margaret Weiss. Don't even try. But yeah, Jay, you are also like one of the hosts of the Vorthos cast. You were also one of the people who, when I rejoined Magic fandom, were one of the folks who really welcomed me in and brought me in and like helped me find my place in this community of ours back during the golden age of Vorthos in like, I don't know, 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, up till about, I don't know, Ixalan, I guess. But yeah, like, it's so good to have you on, dude. Thank you for joining me today.
Well, I welcomed you because I loved your threads on Hinduism, because it made me very popular with my in-laws. I could be like, oh yeah, I know this holiday, and this is what it's about.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it's wild, man, because I feel like we've talked so much over the years, just like you are one of the like core concepts of, hey, we can just be friends and not do content all the time. We talk about kids and Pokemon and things.
I genuinely avoid content when I can, outside of making my own. Yeah.
Right? Like, who's got time? But the reason I brought you on here is because, well, really, it's just because I wanted to talk to you again because we're friends. But more than that, it's because of the fact that I am fascinated with the creative process behind Magic. That's why I've always loved the story. I've always loved the notion of being a Vorthos. And I love having this identity that I can wrap around myself as being like lore focused and lore forward. And like, obviously I fell off that train a little bit because I've got into things like running Commander or whatever. But you and our friends on your cast have kept that flame going strong. Folks like Carrie, folks like Lorelei, who are just like ultimate core Vorthos. So I'm going to, I guess, ask you the fundamental question. When did you find Magic, and how did you find the story of Magic?
Oh, that's a good one. So I originally got into Magic when my parents were trying to get me out of the Pokemon trading card game because they felt I was getting a little old for that. So that was back in like the 1998-ish time frame. I played for a couple years up until high school with like my local friends, just basically whatever janky decks we could build from the packs we got at the store. Then I fell out of it like a lot of people did. And
what era was that?
So I started just before Invasion, like Masks maybe, and then I
Mm,
ended like Odyssey, was the last packs that I bought, I think. So I was there for like, it was like a year and a half, 2 years, somewhere, something in that line.
mm,
Uh, but the Weatherlight stuff always interested me, but I never like looked more into it. Um, and then when I came back to Magic, I was doing graphic design in college, and the other graphic designer was into Magic and told me about a pre-release for this new set coming out called Future Sight. So I brought my friend who also hadn't played in a long time, and we went and played the most complicated like Magic format ever released,
oh,
which was an amazing reintroduction. But
dude, every time somebody tells me one of these stories of like, oh yeah, I came in through Future Sight, or I came in through like, like I talk about Cali Shay all the time, the fact that they came in through friggin' Phyrexia All Will Be One. And I'm like, what the hell? What are you doing coming in through these like disaster monster sets? Like Future Sight is a set that even now folks like me with 30 years under our belt look at and go like, what are you talking about?
what was happening? I
Why?
don't understand it. Uh,
Why? Why is this an 8-0? I don't understand. What do you want me to do with this stupid card? But yeah, so Future Sight brought you back, really?
yeah, funny enough. And then Lorwyn sort of cemented it because we got into like the typal aspect of that.
Mm-mm.
And that's when I started getting into goblins. But like story wise, I didn't get into the story until like Shards of Alara era. Because
Mm.
by then, like I was real into like a lot of other IP novels, like Star Wars' expanded
Yeah.
universe stuff, and that had started to trickle off by 2008. And I was like, oh well, I'm into this other thing. Let me try reading the book for the first time. And it's like, oh, and they did a soft reboot, so I don't have to know anything that
Mm.
came before to get into it, because it was always so intimidating before. It was like back during the Weatherlight saga, like here's 7 novels you need to read, and I'm like, I don't know
Yeah,
if I want to do
I don't
that.
know though. For me, like those early books are so good because I love Jeff Grubb a lot, and the Colors of Magic is like one of my favorite short story comps ever, and like the
Mm-hmm.
Felden story in there might be the best Magic story of all time, or at least in terms of introducing people to what magic means and what the colors mean and what love means, I guess.
It's a good one. Yeah, no, going back later and rereading them was nice, because
Yeah,
I have reread most Magic stuff put out at this point.
I feel
But
like you of all people would probably have to.
yeah. There's one or two things that like been out of print for years. It's never going to matter again.
Yeah,
And
the
I
only
haven't
person who cares
picked
about
stuff
it is
back up.
Ethan Fleischer when he's finding like the name for a random obscure island on Dominaria or something.
And Ethan has those books at home and can do that work himself, right? Like that's. I've ceded several things to Ethan. I'm like, all right, the Dominaria map is all yours, buddy. Like you're the guy. You're the expert there.
All right, can we actually take 10 seconds and first off just celebrate how insane Dominaria was as a set with Kelly Diggs and Ethan being just like the nerdiest hardcore Magic fans of all time getting to
It was
make their
beautiful.
own, like the globe and all the in jokes and all of the references that throw us all the way back to the infancy of the game. Oh, still one of the best sets of all time.
Why don't I give some context for your listeners real quick?
Yeah, please.
Because that is sort of my job too, is giving context, especially to like authors and things. Of like, I know this is like a doodad MacGuffin, whatever to you. Let me give you some context so you know how to write about it. Because like one of the things is you cannot expect an author coming in to
Doodad
have read
MacGuffin was my name in
30
college.
is to understand 30 years of history. So Dominaria is Magic's original setting. Most of the original 10 years of Magic took
Some
place
of us still call
in
it
Source
Dominia.
World.
Thank you.
The, the domains on Dominaria on Dominia, that was not confusing at all. So anyway, Dominaria back in the 90s, they there was like an RPG that they might have developed when they were doing the early 90s video games, like the Microprose game and some of the other stuff that came out. Chandelar, that a lot of people today still stream it. There was going to be a potential RPG, and a lot of the groundwork for it was done, including uh, Pete, I think it was Pete Venters, did like an entirely insane um, level of background detail into this thing, including creating an entire globe for Dominaria
Mm-hmm.
with like realistic continents following tectonic plates. Like that's the level he went into, was like he knew where the tectonic plates were and how it overlapped with mountains and all this stuff. So like that globe had existed for a very long time and was just sort of sitting in the back of the creative team's office somewhere. And Ethan has this whole great article. If you look up Ethan Fleischer, a map of Dominaria,
Mm-hmm.
he like scanned this globe using this map technology, flattened it, did the appropriate projections for it,
It's so
and
cool.
and then labeled it, doing the same kind of thing I do for every other plane in Magic, which is using like compass direction information uh, from the novels and stuff. Magic had released like a lot of maps up until that point, most of which were actually based on this globe. So it
Mm-hmm.
was really consistent and really easy to just overlay stuff. And for when we returned to Dominaria in 2018, it had been like over 10 years since we'd been to Dominaria, outside of a core set. He had this whole map ready to go, and they hired Jared Blando, who is a cartographer illustrator, and he did just this beautiful fantasy map of it, of the
Yes.
Ethan's sort of more practical,
Fleshed out.
workable black and white map. Yeah.
God,
So
dude.
that is what we're talking about, laughing about this globe and like the insane amount of work that went into creating it and then later into making it like into a map for people at home.
And it's like that is the sort of dedication and devotion that you want out of the people making your game.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like that is the sort of thing that makes you go like, "Oh, these people love this as much as I do." It's kind of like how you see in some of the UB products when they're like, "Oh, this guy is hitting this very obscure trope that you have to be a true believer to actually put in there." Or like, I don't know, the example I use is the Ryu card from the Street Fighter UB product, which
Mm-hmm.
has basically him doing a Hadouken because it's like untap plus a mountain to do his ability, which is quarter circle forward punch on the card. And I'm like, that that level of depth of thinking is so. I'm glad that, but the thing is, my biggest gripe has been we aren't showing the core Magic IP the kind of love that we show UB products with this kind of depth, which is why I brought up the Dominaria thing, and which is why I'm really glad that you especially are working on like the behind the scenes with Wizards to help ensure that the actual game of Magic is still magical and cool and makes cohesive sense to somebody.
I think it's gonna vary. Like Magic needs to be accessible, in addition to having those callbacks for people. We've been in
Sure.
like a 2-year period where we're mostly either new planes or returns to planes we've only really visited once.
Yeah.
So there hasn't been a lot of opportunity for that recently, but the
And we're giving
amount.
like it feels like we're also just kind of uh giving sort of not we're like wrapping up old storylines too. You know,
A
so it's
little
kind
bit.
of like giving a nice flat ground to start off.
Yeah, so I'll talk about where we are currently in a second, but like
Sure.
the March of the Machines, the amount of work that went into like that whole arc, starting like way back in Kaldheim, was incredible. Like the probably the most work I've ever done in Magic was working on the Dominaria United, Phyrexia All Will Be One, March of the Machines, oh, and Brothers War. Those 4 sets in a row, keeping it all contiguous, all the references,
Mm.
all the
Yeah,
deep
Brothers
cuts.
War especially, you had to go back to antiquities and figure out like what are all these
Oh,
things and who are these people?
oh yeah, the whole team did for that one. Like a bunch of people went back and reread the original novel, and like they had like detailed synopses of the novel available for everybody. I had written like an entire like Phyrexian lore document, like everything you need to know about Phyrexia in like 5 pages,
Didn't you
basically.
also like do the alphabet, or who worked on the Phyrexian
Oh,
alphabet?
no. So the Phyrexian as a language has existed internally at Wizards since think, I think, New Phyrexia, like Scars of
Oh,
Mirrodin
damn.
era. They developed an actual, like, they hired a linguist and developed an actual language to be
That's
Phyrexian.
fun.
And so you can actually get that, like, the booklet with most of the Phyrexian language and how it works and stuff was available in like a Beetle and Grimm's product, their Phyrexia product or whatever. And I'm sure that's all like online now too, so it's easy to find. But
Jeez.
they have people internally who are like the language masters for that. Because I am like, I am not a polyglot at all. Like I do not have the headspace. I have forgotten more about languages than most people will ever learn between ASL and Spanish and Hindi and all. Like
Yeah.
I've just, if I don't use it like immediately and regularly, it's gone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, no, they have people who do that internally, and it's sort of like an unofficial side position. And those, I can't remember their names off the top of
It's
my head.
fine. That's
But
just that's a side chat. But you were saying about the keeping all this continuity contiguous into.
oh yeah, yeah, and there was a lot of room to play as well with these sets, especially with the Brothers War, with like the modern day side of things. The author for that, Reinhardt Suarez, could give me a run for my money. Like I'm going through and reading his reading his stories, and I'm like I know this is a deep cut to like a novel from 1997 that no one read. Like, um, but also like being able to give suggestions to help align things
Actually,
better.
I think it would suit the listeners for a second if we pulled back and actually said what it is you do. What does it mean to
That's probably a good
do
point.
the things you're doing? Because like I feel like we need to contextualize the nature of you being able to give context to people. So, you are a person who has read every Magic story and knows all the lore and knows all the cards, in a way that like we all know all the cards of Magic, but some people know like, hey, guess what? These people on this card showed up in this picture art and have like relationships with these things. The way I know Dragonlance, right? Like the way I know
Mhm.
fundamentally, like someone could say, hey, does this random dragon who showed up on this one page have a name? And I'm like, yeah, it was in like a magazine article in Dragon issue like
Mhm.
412 or whatever. And like they're like, what the hell do you mean his name is Lauren? And I'm like, well, that's what you called it when you wrote it the first time, and like Jay, you can do that with Magic cards, right? Like you could tell me where Squee's first appearance was or whatever it is. And what do you do with this information? How did you leverage it into becoming a thing with Wizards?
So there's a lot going on there. So the
Yeah.
first thing I'll say is how I got this role is that I was mostly in the right place at the right time. I was an emergency manager by trade, and ended up
Yeah, like
moving.
you've
Had a
done with
much
like your real world job was like crazy.
Yeah, no, I did. I like ran state programs for public health emergency management. I set up like a lot of the stuff Maryland used in
To fix that
response
bridge,
to
right?
COVID and things, and yeah, like general disaster stuff too.
Yeah.
But it was primarily focused on the public health side of things. But my wife and I moved for her work, and I got reached out to because I was putting out lore articles, and I had reached out to interview like their new franchise team at the time, and their franchise team needed someone with knowledge to help like edit the War of the Spark novel that came out. And well, we don't need to get into that specifically, and the reception and the problems around there. That's a whole that can be a whole podcast by itself. Uh, but they reached out to me for that, and they must have liked me because I've been kept around ever since. And when franchise handed off like web fiction stuff back to Studio X, the R&D creative team, I went with them. I interviewed with Jess Lanzillo, who is very
Mm.
lovely. She is, I think, I think she moved on to a different company or something now, though.
Yeah, I remember. Yes, yes, she did. I think
Uh,
I'm pretty sure.
but I had a call with her, and like I was immediately like, "Well, we'll use you as well." And as they were rebuilding their capacity, I was working with outside authors like Roy Graham and Miguel Lopez, who both ended up getting hired internally at Wizards, and help them develop things. And one of the big things I do is I work as an editor on fiction to look for how we can make things fit in the lore. That's like that's kind of the easy part, but also help authors match sort of like Magic's vibe or the vibe we're going for a set. Help them match like character tone, things along those lines to help it feel sort of cohesive when you see a character between appearances, even when it's by different authors.
Right.
And Magic now, I mentioned I'd come back to this. Magic now, after, gosh, 3 or 4, more like 4 years of being on this paradigm, has a good stable of authors that they can return to on a regular basis, who know what they're doing, who have ownership. Oh, I use quotation marks, ownership of certain characters. Like, if we know a certain character is going to be a lead and that this writer is the person for it, the creative team will likely reach out to them first.
So, for instance, if you were going to do like Geeta and Geralf, you might grab Shauna.
Yeah,
Shauna would probably come in and handle that. But I mean, like, because that's how other IPs have done things for a long time. For instance, in Dragonlance, there were certain characters and storylines and stuff where certain authors were like I've talked to Margaret Weiss about like when we were rebooting the Dragonlance stuff, and I was like, hey, are you going to involve this and this character? And she's like, no, Rick Knack, the other author who wrote these books, that's his story and his character. I'm not touching it. I'm like, yeah, but you're literally rewriting the history of that specific time. You should probably touch it. But that being notwithstanding, other IPs, you will definitely see, like, even when there's like 300 novels or whatever in there, you can carve it out into columns that are just one author covering this specific arc or character or storyline or recurring event. And it's good to see that Magic is finally picking up on that, because it makes it so much easier and it makes it more cohesive and coherent. And then like the characters sound the same.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the way they're addressing it currently is sort of, you mentioned earlier Magic's Golden Age, where it was like the 2014-ish time frame when we first got the web fiction
era.
Yeah. Well, they came a little bit later, but it was like, I'll call it the Jenna Helland era, because it was really Jenna Helland's push for web fiction and writing like a story called The Cursed Blade, and that got like the she and Doug Bear got the ball rolling. Or is it Doug Bear? Doug Beyer. Doug Beyer got the ball rolling on like the web fiction with something called Uncharted Realms. But for like that entire decade, pretty much everything was written internally from like 2011-ish until about 2018. It was all written by staff internally in addition to their other duties. And so that golden age was, as soon as business process shifts happened, as soon as staff started moving around, it wasn't going to be sustainable. I think by the end, by Ixalan, Allison Lurs has said that she like basically wrote that by herself with some help.
Yeah, she told me that she basically wrote an entire novel.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But it was awesome.
So I think I'm always going to be a little bit of a cheerleader. Like, my criticisms are always given like in private to the Wizards folks. Like, there are things I've not liked over the past years, but I think I really like the current paradigm that we're on right now, with these sort of mini loosely connected story arcs every year that are building to something bigger. So we just finished the second one, which is this Dragonstorm arc. It makes for easy places for people to jump in. It makes for like a faster return on investment in continuity, in like following the characters you like, because we can jump through characters more quickly. I think like the current, like, I really enjoyed the Dominaria United to March of Machines arc. I know people had some criticisms of it, like specifically because we're like one set for March of the Machines did not feel like enough for a lot of people. And I totally get that. But I think like the current era we in is like a second golden age. Like, we have so much more Magic fan art all the time. Like it disappeared after like 2018, 2019. We lost all that like fan art community and all that. And now it
Yeah,
has built itself back up in a big way. We've got a huge audience that's paying attention to this stuff now.
because
Um,
that's a part that just kills me. Is that like remember at GP Seattle or whatever that one year where like 15 or 20 of us went out to lunch together as like this core Vorthos
mhm,
meetup that we had. It was like you and me and Kaburi and Ethan and like just a billion of our friends and stuff. We got to sit and just be story nerds together. And there was this era where there was just so much flourishing of fandom that was not just related to the cards themselves, but
mhm.
the or like but it was built around the culture and the vibe of the story and the arcs and everything, and it just felt like they that we all just got like rug pulled into a pit right in the room that just plummeted us down. And it's like, oh no, what the hell? um and yeah, I can see it now. This we're starting to rebuild, but god, that was almost apocalyptic for that specific slice of Magic fandom.
Yeah, and it I'm not going to comment too much on that
Well,
directly,
yeah, I
but
mean,
it was,
sure.
it was like 7 years ago or so now, and like a lot of the long timers have a long memory about that kind of thing. It was like during the mending, which for those of you who aren't aware, back when Magic did its soft reboot, we're talking about Future Sight. They changed the way the multiverse works and made planeswalkers like more like people instead of these demigods. And people, the fans of the story at the time, held on to that for a long time. I think I sometimes still see like someone post angrily about Brady Walkers,
Yeah, I was
and I'm
just
like,
gonna say,
"Mom,
I'm not gonna say Brady Walker because that's just insulting.
it's so the head of Magic story at the time or creative was a guy named Brady Dommermuth, who was actually a pretty cool guy, very open about processes, very honest about how things work. But the extreme story nerds of the time sort of gave the new versions of Planeswalkers this derisive Brady Walker nickname.
It is
Um, it was also
on
like Neo Walkers. Now that's mostly gone, but every once in a
yeah,
while I'll
because
see it.
one of the things that's funny is that these guys have been these walkers have planeswalkers have existed for longer than they didn't exist. Right?
Yes.
Like this whole idea of new walkers and like it's like the new card frame has been around for 3/4 of Magic's life, right? Like at this point,
Hmm.
like get over
It's not.
yourselves.
It's not the new one anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the same
Anyways,
with these the neo walkers and stuff. But I
yeah.
mean, I think we are getting to the point where, like I said, that sort of Magic story is reaching another golden age. As much as people are always going to complain about something or another,
Mm.
that with the resources they have, they're doing just an incredible job, story to story. Um,
Yeah, I think it's
now,
been going great, honestly.
Now, would I love to have more story and not just because I would get paid more to review it? Yeah, absolutely. Of course I would. And Universes Beyond changing up the schedule lineup. I don't know exactly how that's going to impact any of it.
That's not for you or I to decide.
It's not going to impact the quality of the story, but you are going to get one slightly less a year, I think, if we still do 3 and 3 instead of getting 4 in-universe sets. But the trade-off is we're also going back to we have new Magic comic books that come out next month,
Mm.
starting with Elspeth from Dark Horse, who is actually one of the original Magic comic publishers back during the Weatherlight saga. They did a story called Gerard's Quest, which is one of those deep cut things I
Who
had to
did the
reference.
Jedit O'Johnson comic book?
That was
Was that like
the
Image or something? No, it was
Harper Prism, not Harper Prism. Sorry. Acclaim, the video game publisher, had a comic book imprint called Armada, which they
right,
did like
right.
their game tie-ins because they were also publishing Magic video games at the time, and part of the comics was building towards like the events of this video game that was happening.
Hmm.
I think it was Battle Mage. I can't remember. I can't always remember the names of the individual games from the 90s. But that went away when like the
Acclaim would have
comic book
been Battle
industry
Mage because it
crashed.
wasn't Chandelar. That was Microprose.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyways,
Uh, and so funny enough, the guy who ran it, the editor in chief was a guy named and who wrote most of those stories, or at least a good chunk of them. was a guy named Jeff Gomez, who we've had on the Vorthos cast. He's a really cool guy. He has his own sort of like multimedia franchise tie-in stuff, and so he works a lot with like the Ultraman franchise now.
Oh,
so
weird.
which is like huge internationally, but has like almost zero traction in the United States.
Isn't it like you? Wait, no, you're not I forget, you're not an Ultraman guy, right? No,
I
you're
like
like
Ultraman. I don't go out of my way to watch
no, you're
very
like
much in the
kaiju
way of
stuff. Is
Ultraman.
what you
I
are,
am
right?
Godzilla all the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
If
But
I get to walk, if they bring back like a Godzilla Universes Beyond and I get to work on it, I can retire. Like I'll be done.
You were not working there when Ikoria did the thing, right?
No, I just missed the. I had applied for the creative text team, but I had not actually been hired for anything yet, and my first set wouldn't be until the Brothers War. So that's another thing I do. I work on creative text.
Yeah.
And apparently they like me because I'm on a lot of creative text these days. I did this year. I did Spider-Man, Ether Drift, and Edge of Eternities.
Damn.
So that was all. Those were all a lot of fun.
Okay, so let's talk about. Okay, so you've got the job of continuity.
Mm-hmm.
What happens? Like, let's talk about Brothers War. That came out long enough ago that nobody's going to get mad at us if we talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're working on Brothers War. How does this work? Like, what are you doing for Brothers War to help them can maintain continuity? Do they like come to you and say like, hey, we're building the set based on ancient magic times. Can you make sure that all the characters are correct? Or did you give them like a guide of these are the people who were there at the time?
So there's a lot of things that I'll do individually. That one's fun because I also worked on like I said, I worked on the creative text for that. So I was involved. I was way more involved in that set than anything else.
So it's a good one to example.
So generally, my contract at this point is year by year. So they will have like an estimate for the amount of web fiction or other like word counts for like for this year comics that they're going to be doing that they would want me to review.
Sure.
So I think it was 10 total stories for the Brothers War. So I knew that in advance. And then they'll go and find their authors. In this case, it was Miguel Lopez, the creative lead himself for the set. He's now over at Destiny with Bungie. But he's now working for Alice and Lurs, actually.
Yeah.
He did about half of them. And then Reinhardt did the other half, and they had 2 different time periods. So they have Magic has what's called a world guide, which is sort of like the creative brief for anyone who's going to be working on the set. And they've shown like snippets of them in the past. If you saw the old Viz art books, those were pretty much just like the world guides for those planes. It's like that kind of information, maybe not quite as detailed because, who
James Wyatt?
James, thank you. James went and added some stuff in and things like that. But it's like that kind of like the world building and the art direction and stuff. All that information is in there. I can't talk more specifics about that, but it's common knowledge that those exist.
Yes.
So especially when it's like a return, they will have me look at the world guide and give like feedback on like, are there important things that isn't included here? Is something wrong? Do I think that art is freaking sick? Like that kind of that kind of thing. So I'll do that kind of thing for that. And then when it comes to the writers, they'll have outlines and then different draft iterations. So I'll review all those. At the outline phase, usually it's where I can give like sort of big, broad feedback on like what the context is, who the characters are, what to be careful of, fun little things that they can include if they want to. And then when the actual drafts come back, I will work as an actual editor, sometimes for like phrasing and things like that, but often for like, here's a specific in-universe noun you can use instead of this, or this doesn't feel quite like the vibe that we'd like. This feels a little too murdery for one of our hero characters. What if we like dialed it back a little bit?
Have you ever run into any situation where you're like, hey, by the way, that character's actually dead?
Yes. Um, that has happened. Uh, Hilariously, because the characters, and I'm not going to say which character it was in the past, but uh, the hilariously because the character's creator and killer was then the one to reintroduce them, and I'm like, you realize you killed this person, right? Right? I know it's all very good nature. It's like, oh well, let's just pivot this character into like a new character instead. That's just very similar.
That's
Uh,
so funny.
no, so that kind of thing can happen. It does not happen very often. The creative team is excellent. I love working with them. And it's usually not like, oh, this character is dead, but
Yeah.
it's often like, oh, we established this when this character last appeared, and this is sort of flying in the face of that. Like, and some of it is like, I want to be clear, it's not, oh, we said this 5 years ago, so therefore we can't do it. It's, we said this 5 years ago. I don't think anyone actually paid attention to that story. If you really want to change it, I don't think anyone's going to mind. Or, we said this 5 years ago. This is the fandom's baby. If you change this, like, don't show your face at the next MagicCon. Like that kind of advice for them sometimes.
Well, it's important because like sometimes the authors don't know what the community cares about. That's what folks like us are here for. Because there were times when like because I've consulted on a number of different stories, both Magic and other IPs. I've talked to a lot of authors. I've helped them out, and there have been times I'm like, hey, look, I don't want to like tell you what to write. However, if you do what you're doing, you're going to upset a very large number of people because they care very specifically about that thing being like this thing. And it's got to matter. And it's like, how important is it to your story that this has to happen? And can we find a different way to do it?
I also really like some of the authors really like and trust me and will like spitball with me beforehand to like, and I'll give them ideas and suggestions like, oh, like what do we know about this person? Is there like a plot hook that I could grab onto from a long time ago, or is there another example is not authors won't always ask this, but like if we have a character that exists already that could fill a role, especially if it's like a legendary creature, like can we put that character into the story instead and have it make sense without it being oops all legends? So that kind of thing's another important bit.
Have you brought anybody back? Have you found
I brought anyone back to life?
Or even just like reinserted them into the story? You're like, hey, you really should bring this person in because that would be really cool right here.
I believe Duretti being an Ether Drift was like 75% Miguel Lopez throwing me a bone because I campaigned for Duretti for like the solid 3 or 4 years that I knew them and worked.
Well, I mean, I know that for instance, the new Jedit existing at all is because Ethan was like, I need to make Shivam shut up. So like, here, stop bothering.
Yeah. Or back in the day, we mentioned my friend Lorelei. Z sent in a Homerid puzzle to the creative team.
Yeah.
And it sort of pushed having Homerids back in Magic in Dominaria 2018. It sort of made it happen because it was like a debate internally if they wanted to touch it. And now we've got like a Cowpoke Homerid. We had some Homerids racing on one of the racing teams at Ether Drift.
It's just like, what are these lobster? And then, of course, the random lobster chef that's not a Homerid.
I love Vorthos.
Yeah. Is a Homerid, let's be real.
He's a lobster folk, and Homerids are lobster folk. Yeah.
That's so doofy. Where's my Camerid love, man? Like, where's my... Anyways. Fallen Empires, it sure existed.
Camerids are just a local name for Homerids.
Okay. Yeah, let's go with that. What would you say is your favorite era of story or your favorite story specifically?
Oof, that's a tough one. I think my favorite thing I've gotten to do is work with the authors on like Elspeth's apotheosis in like the March of the Machine arc. That specific storyline is probably one of my favorite. Just going from Elspeth at her lowest in like
To
Streets of
becoming
New
like the
Capenna
angel.
to becoming that angel figure and protector for others. I thought that was a really cool one. Obviously, I love the Ether Drift story because we got to have Duretti, and
Mhm.
Kay and I talked a lot about who Duretti should be. Because as a cranky Italian man who has also had a lot of blows to the head, like I had opinions on Duretti. Duretti I really like too because, I was in this really bad car accident when I was 19, and I was like 10 minutes from them having the surgeon show up to help extricate me, if you
Oh,
understand what I'm
geez.
saying. So, I after that accident, I spent uh almost a year, like 6 months to a year, using a wheelchair to get around as my mobility device. So like, I identify with the cranky Italian very well.
Man, I got to do some cultural consulting on the Aether Drift story, and it was really fun to like tell them what foods to write in and like what kind of
Yeah,
cultural flavors and stuff to be able to do. And being able to do that all the time must just rule. It's probably really
it's
fun.
fun. Ironically, my greatest cultural consultant role was for Streets of New Capenna as the Brooklyn Italian. I'm like, there was, I think in the story at one point, Elspeth bumped into somebody and the other person apologized. And I was like, whoa, 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 time out. Time out. Like, that is not a thing that would happen in New York City. Like, so. And helping them embrace their mobster voice for some of these stories was always very fun too.
Yeah. Um gosh, like I'm trying very hard not to ask you things that would get you or me in trouble. And that's like the interesting part of this. Like, okay, what, because the thing is, remember, it's important to remember that you don't direct the story. You
Yeah,
just help them tell the stories that they're going to tell, whether it's yours
I
or not. That's not the job you're here for.
I am an outside consultant who they bring in for my particular expertise, and I've gotten quite good at it. It's not just that I know a lot; it's that I am organized and I'm good at giving feedback. And if you've ever had like professional editorial feedback, as someone who's written several books now, it can come off not super like good for your self-esteem sometimes. So I'm good at writing feedback in such a way that, it's not like I'm not like how could you write it like this, or like this is terrible, or things like that.
Also, let's talk about the fact that you've written like a million books on magic already that have been published and are in stores for people to buy. How ridiculous is that?
It is a weird feeling because for me, I don't feel any particularly different, and I am in this like with magic lore fans who are clued in, like they know who I am. Or if you're one of my TikTok followers now, because like my TikTok is fairly big. I've got like 10,000 people now. But like I exist in such like a narrow sliver of fame in the fandom that it's like I usually don't get bothered when I go to event. It's not like you. Everyone knows who you are when you go to like a Magic Con. So I can at least walk by, and then it's like maybe two
And
people a
then they
day
see
who
you
will
on
be
the
like,
main
"Are you Jay
stage.
Annelli?" Yeah, I know. And I'm up there for the main stage every time.
I've never gotten the main stage.
I have a non-main stage panel actually in Atlanta, and it's my first time not being on the main stage, and
Ooh.
I feel like such a prima donna being like, "Ugh, what do you mean I can only fit like 40 people in the room?" No, I'm totally kidding. But no, it's very cool, and it's cool because when the last big one came out, my son was able to come to like a book signing that I had set up with like my local comic book / game store.
Oh, that's cool.
And he got to see that, and that's more important to me than anyone else liking my stuff,
Did people
honestly.
come?
Yeah, there was we actually
I'm
they
sorry, that
sold out.
sounded super mean. I apologize.
So they actually sold out of the like signing copies they bought. So if you don't know how this works, or your listeners might not, when you do like signature events, stores that run these can buy a bunch of books, but like because it's for a signature thing and they don't know how many people are going to show up, they have the ability through this agreement with the publishers
Mm,
that whatever's unsold they can ship back and get their money back.
mm.
Um, so it's not quite a logistical burden for them to buy like 30-40 novels and then have no one buy it. But if you don't know me from my art books, please check out Magic the Gathering, the visual guide. It is up to date, everything you might want to know about Magic lore, up to the Brothers War, because that's when it was going to be published. So it has everything you might need to know up until that point. It doesn't cover the Omen Paths or the current stuff
Yeah.
of the last 2 years. But, if people keep buying it, DK might want an updated version. They do tend to do those.
That's very cool. I mean, I thought it was, I was very proud of you personally. I was like, look, one of us made it and got their names on the, like, it's a big deal when when fans get to join and participate and add to the thing that they're creating or that they're fans of and get to put their own signature on it. That is one of the greatest feelings in the world, which is why, like, I mean, I think it's so cool that you get to do this, man. It's so sick.
It's fun. The last one I did was just a little project. It's near like bookstores near the front, they have those little boxes that have a little booklet and some sort of like little toy or gadget or something in it. There's it's from a company called Rolling Press, I think. RP Minis is what it's called specifically. But there's a Magic the Gathering Deluxe Life Counter that I wrote the little 1,200 word booklet that's like this big to go with it. But that was a fun one too. But that wasn't.
What do you write in a dice counter story?
It is very basic Magic world building stuff. Like who are the biggest planeswalkers? Who are the biggest planes? And figuring out and knowing like what things to talk about and not just going off on Doretti is like the hard part of doing this. That's always the challenge. Is like, all right, I need to make sure I'm hitting sort of like the business goals for what this is and not just doing my random blorbos or whatever. And figuring out how to edit these things down into that has been the toughest part of all these books because I have limited space. Like I could write another, the DK book is 60,000 words. I could easily double that.
Do you ever think about like how many words go into a book and then think about how many Tumblr posts and Twitter posts that we've all made that we could have easily written novels from?
I have started tracking. I saw Benny, the commander guy who wrote like a commander book years ago. Yeah. He had written a post years ago about like how many hundreds of thousands of words in articles he had published. So I started tracking it, and I am at, not counting like Tumblr posts, because Tumblr posts is a solid extra novel on top of this, but I have written and published like over 600,000 words on like Magic and Magic lore at this point. So that's like 6 novels worth of stuff. Art books tend to have lower counts, but yeah, no, it's crazy.
It's so nuts. If you could dream insert one thing from the deep history of Magic back and bring it back into modern times, what would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. I answered Doretti before, and I'm stalling thinking about your other question while I say this. But a character I would want to bring back would be Dak Thaden. Roy has told me, no, he's dead, Jay. He is super dead. I'm but he could be a ghost on Ravnica.
Yeah,
he was
seriously,
in debt to the
Orzhov can bring it back. Come on. I feel like there's a couple of characters who I feel got short shrift. I'm still never going to not be mad about Gideon. I'm going to be mad about Gideon until the end of time. But
and that's okay.
You know what? I don't know how a dude whose whole shtick is I am indestructible gets lit on fire. I'm just saying maybe we could have thought about that. Maybe.
So the thing I would pull back is actually a thing I got into canon in Dominaria United. That's there largely because of me. So the Raven Man being Limdul the Necromancer. So the Raven Man was this sort of like
Lindul the Necromancer.
what the Raven Man was this like guy who kept appearing to Liliana and like trying to like corrupt her and guide her on the wrong path. And there were a lot of like candidates that people thought it could be. And oh my god, I pulled the Microprose Chandelar user manual had a little bit of like had like 2 or 3 pages of story that like went into my theory on why Limdul the Necromancer was this character. Like it is I wrote this 10,000 word theory piece that I worked on for years, and that's actually what first got me noticed by a lot of Wizards folks is like all of a sudden like 3 members of the creative team are following me on social media now after I posted this. But that one is one I wanted to bring back because I love Limdul and Joda and Jeff Grubb. His Ice Age novels are some of my favorite novels in Magic. Joda is, if you don't know who he is, he's appeared in the last 2 Dominaria sets. But he is sort of like, what if the Doctor was a wizard? He is like timeless, and he was created to be a counterpoint to old school planeswalkers who only cared about like the greater good. And he's the one, well, you know, the greater good doesn't mean very much to the little people you're trampling. And so he's like that guy. And he's very ancient, but he's not like super powerful. He's just very, very skilled. So he knows a lot, but he's not going to like overpower Nicol Bolas or anything like that. So I thought that was also kind of a cool thing about his character. And so him coming back and having like a more major role in the story in Dominaria United, and then Limdul being officially confirmed as like this character who's been sort of haunting Liliana for years. I love both of those. I wish we had space in Dominaria United for Joda and Jaya and Limdul to have a reunion before we lost Jaya. Yeah, I know.
You know, I like that story a lot, except for a few. I think that Jaya Ballard deserved a much better.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'm with you there. I really love Jaya, but she
there were
also
choices that were made.
And you know, there's choices that go into the story sometimes that are like you got to factor in what the card game is, right? Yeah. And so a lot of the times when they kill off a character, it is a character who shares a color pie with a bunch of other characters. For a while, red-green characters were on the chopping block pretty regularly because they just kept making new ones, right?
Who the hell was that Gruul Planeswalker that isn't here anymore?
Domri Raid?
Yeah. Domri Raid's gone.
There's Xenagos, there's Domri Raid, I think Arlen is fine. She didn't get killed off or anything.
No, she was in the new Innistrad story.
Yeah. So she's still around. She's fine. But, you know, there's like, if you share both a mechanical and a color pie space with another character, like, it might be rough for you because it's hard to get you both in all the time. That's part of the thing where, like, de-sparking all these planeswalkers actually means you get to see like your B and C tier characters more. Like there was no chance Duretti was going to be in Ether Drift if he hadn't been desparked, because Chandra was like mechanically basically a Duretti card. And that is just a design reality that goes into this.
So do you have a spreadsheet of everybody who's been sparked and desparked and resparked and unsparked and whatever?
I have a spreadsheet. Do you want to know how many named characters I have in my spreadsheet? Hold on.
I would love to know how many named characters you have in your spreadsheet. By the way,
I have 1,847 items. That's not characters. This is just sources for my giant spreadsheet of Magic lore.
Sources.
Yeah, that is all. There's almost 2,000 different places you can find tidbits about Magic lore. Sometimes it's like just a little thing. Sometimes it's big. All right. As of Edge of Eternities, 5,390 characters, named characters that I have recorded.
My God.
And that is like post-mending and a few of the old school stories that have mattered, like ones that were for Phyrexia or Weatherlight Saga related. I haven't recorded all the side characters from all the ancillary books or anything like that because they're all dead anyway. And it's more work than it's worth doing, right?
Yeah.
And you can find a lot of that stuff on the wiki anyway if you want to. But yeah, so we've got that. In terms
How
of
annoying is a
Planeswalkers,
wiki for you?
say it again.
How annoying is a wiki for you?
I love the wiki. I used to be an admin for the wiki actually before and very early on when I was working with Wizards. But then, it's a problem. I probably can't be working on the wiki when I have my own wiki page.
Fair.
So I'll still do like edits and stuff, and I'll go through and remove stuff. But the wiki, you have to realize, is a community edited resource. It is a lot better than it used to be, because it used to be filled with a lot of like what we call fanon, like stuff fans have made up. There's no source, and it's in there. For those of you who don't know, like Magic website history, there used to be a site called Phyrexia.com, and that was like the message board to go to. A lot of what was in the wiki early on was sort of copy and pasted from threads on Phyrexia.com. The problem is, if you've ever been on a message board, people sometimes make stuff up, and sometimes they try and be funny. So literally, for years, the wiki on the list of planeswalkers had Guybrush Threepwood as a planeswalker. Guybrush Threepwood is the main character from the Monkey Island series of Point Adventures. Yeah, and I'm just like... So there's occasionally stuff like that, or someone will get very excited and I will pull up a page and be like, what is this page talking about? And I will go and edit it. But yeah, no, the wiki is a great resource. I still refer to it sometimes. I mean, I have my own spreadsheet for stuff, but that doesn't mean I can't be like, let me cross-check and make sure I didn't miss anything.
Yeah, because I mean, our spreadsheets can only be so detailed.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be someone, like, there's always going to be another junior Jay Annelli who's sitting there going like, hey, do you remember this one article from Inquest?
It's usually Carrie who does that to me.
Yeah, well, Carrie is even more than anybody else I know. Carrie is like the core. If Magic's story could be avatared into a person, it would probably be Carrie.
So Carrie is basically Magic's unofficial archivist through their mtglore.com project. It is incredible. I go to that site all the time.
I had Carrie as a guest.
The other person I'd want to shout out to. Yeah, I listened to that one. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, I actually listened to it. No, I listen to, when I have time to listen to podcasts.
I don't need you to listen to my podcast. It's fine.
It's fine. I don't expect anyone. It's just very funny. We talked about having all these books. Like, my best friends in the world have not lifted a single page of any of these books I put together. And that is perfectly fine. It is so, like, beautifully humbling to remember that people just do not care. It is so important for my ego to remember that sometimes.
Well, yeah, 100%. How many Magic players give a crap about the fact that I wrote Dragonlance novels, right? Like, nobody. It's fine. That's for me.
So the other person I'd want to give a shout out to while we're talking about Carrie is also Biren Boer, who is an old school Vorthos who had a project called Multiverse in Review on his blog.
Yeah.
And it is, oh my God, the most valuable resource into just the context and history of Magic lore there.
It's so cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. If you have a chance to check it out and just sort of go to the very back, it's all in chronological order up through, I think, the end of Lorwyn. Basically, it's the entire pre-Mending era, the first 15 years of Magic story. And it is great. It's good stuff. With lots of commentary and lore notes and context and reviews of stuff. And it all comes together really well.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Man, I feel like I could have you on for like another 3 hours and actually get through what we
Oh my god,
talked
has
about.
it been like an hour
Yeah,
already?
because like
Yeah.
we keep jumping about. And
I wonder why two people like us might just jump
yeah, I
around
can't
all the time.
imagine. That's why I was like, oh no, I can see us going down the branching path and missing the main trunk. Come
Yeah,
back and tell me.
yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, like first off, it is really important that Magic have someone like you who sits there, or I mean, and I'm not saying it didn't before. Obviously, there were people internally who were the continuity lore keepers, but it's so important because like this game is so big and so old, and there have been so many stories and so many things, and keeping track of everybody who's been everywhere and what's going on gives us, I mean, because like when we know that this game has a foundation that is rock solid like this, and that has lore going back that even we don't even need to care about, but having it exist gives so much flavor and depth to the cards that come out later that it's like, because I mean, there are infinite people whose introduction to Magic was like, I picked up a card and I was like, I need to know the story of that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I picked up Jedit O'Johnson when I was starting. I'm like, who is this dude? What's going on? What is a Frava? What is? I need to know everything about this world.
Squee Goblin Nabob was that for me. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
why is this like dorky goblin in like imperial robes?
Yeah.
I need to
What
know
is a
more.
nabob? Why is it immortal? What's going on? You know, it's like that sort of
Uh,
stuff is vital. And so making sure that, and right now, as weird as it is as we go into the UB era, Magic's core IP sets have been just hitting it out of the park. And okay, well maybe like Outlaws was a little bit of a wibble, but we can
I could
quibble
talk to you
with,
about Outlaws in the
yeah,
future.
we
Yeah,
can
but
probably do that offline so we don't get in trouble for that one. Um but yeah, like even Aether Drift, man, I got to work on the world building team for Aether Drift, or work with the world building team, not on. And seeing what they did just from my own consulting standpoint was like, wow, look at all this stuff that's in this. And then you see the set and you're like, oh God, no, none of it made it. But the fact that
hmm,
all that lore is still there means when we go back to these planes or when we develop more, we've got this well of resources to be able to draw from, which is awesome.
it all exists, and it existing is things that it means it can be drawn on for like future franchise efforts too,
Mm.
like comic books and things like that. And if there are other like, I don't know, this is pie in the sky, but I'd love to see like new Magic video games. I have no personal knowledge. I want to be very clear of anything in that regard. Um, but I would
I
love to
would really
see
like
new
that.
Magic video games using like some of the really cool Avishgari graffiti
Oh my
designs and
God.
things they came up
Dude,
with that are
just
just
the fact that they came up with a whole
gorgeous.
graffiti language that looks
Mhm,
like pseudo Devanagari as done by like
mhm.
Schmandrew is just amazing. And it was so like when I saw that, I was like, I need to have this on deck boxes. I need to have it on playmats. I need to have a tattoo. And then it didn't. And I was like, oh, it was
It's
only
in a
on that
few
one card,
places. It's in a few places, and it's on the
like the
one of the
scoreboard.
booster fun treatments of some of the cars. They have like the
Mm,
graffiti in the background and like the car showcase in front. But
yeah.
yeah, no, there's a lot of cool stuff that has only sort of been mentioned in the world guide, in like the Planeswalker guide that I'd love to see expanded on in the future. And we're getting on this tangent again.
Oh my God. That's uh, you need to come back, Jay. This is super cool. Because I know that there's so much more we could be talking about, but I'm going to be disciplined and call it here. Uh, because like there's so much you do that we haven't even talked about. We haven't even touched on the podcast or whatever. But if folks wanted to find you or what you or send you a message or whatever, where could they go?
So I am primarily social media wise on Blue Sky as vorthosj.bsky.social. I am on TikTok if you want to follow me for short, digestible lore videos as Vorthos J. That's Vorthos, VORTHOSJAY. And also, you can listen to the Vorthos Cast, which is my podcast that I am very rarely on right now. Bedtime recording podcasts don't really work with a 3-year-old who doesn't want to sleep.
Mm,
Um,
mm, mm.
But I'll be back on occasionally, and you can find me in their Discord server, which you can get access to for like $1 a month if you support them on Patreon. I'm very active in that Discord server too, and I just love that community we've built there. So I'm probably never going to leave. It's my favorite Discord community I'm in.
Oh man. Yeah, dude. And I'm I'm glad we're friends. I love being able to talk to you. It's super cool. Um and I have to say, like, the Vorthos community took me in when I was coming back to Magic, and I probably wouldn't be sitting here with all this stuff had it not been for the community keeping me so engaged and so like just allowing me to participate and really, really jump in. And I hope that new fans also get to have that kind of like sense of community, because it was awesome. But as always, my friends, you can find me at Blue Sky at Shivam Bhatt. You can find me on you can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are sold, or at YouTube every Tuesday. Thanks to my editor Dan. You can also hear me on Shivam Wheeler Love Magic or the Chronicles of Dragonlance podcast. And remember, my friends, it's not magic without the gathering, and we'll see you next time.